Hi everyone, it's Rachel at Clarty Hands Crafts. Today we're going to be making a pocket using some tracing paper just to make it a bit more visually interesting. So I'm going to make the frame using this piece that you can see now, and what I need to do is make a window out of that. So I'm going to cut a rectangle from the centre, and also I'm rounding the edges as you can see here. So I rounded them first, and then I looked at where I needed to put the photograph and then cut a window which would be big enough to see the whole thing. You'll have to excuse my head bobbing in and out of the shots here because I needed to be over the top to see exactly where I was placing my blade. Fortunately, this paper trimmer that I'm using has, you can see the spikes in the centre. They are there to measure, so that you know exactly where the blade is going to pierce in. And it's just a very small blade, so that's how it works. It just punches the hole and then you drag it to where you want it to end up. So I cut a window. It was 2 centimetres that I cut from the edge all the way around, and the size of the pocket was just determined by the size of the page, so I just made it look like it would fit nicely. As you can see there, it's got a nice even border around it. And then I'm going to ink the outside edges and the inside edges. I've just noticed you can really see my sunburn in my left arm there. We had a couple of nice days here in the UK. Because it's so rare, I made sure that I spent some time in it, but unfortunately I forgot to wear the sun cream. So now I'm cutting the tracing paper, and I cut this to a size which was smaller than the outside border of the border but larger than the inside of the border, but I wasn't too specific with it. As you can see, it's a little bit uneven, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be hidden by that frame. Now I'm gluing that down with tacky glue. I've never really worked with tracing paper before, so I wasn't sure if this was going to work or if it was going to be too slippy for the glue to hold, but it did hold up well. The reason I chose to use tacky glue rather than a tape roller is because I wanted to make sure that the edges were well stuck down. If I'd have used a tape roller, then I think those edges would have lifted every time that I tried to slip a photograph in. But with this you do need to be careful not to squidge out the glue and get it all over the window. So here again I'm just gluing down those edges, giving it a little bit extra because that keeps wanting to curl. It must have been where the paper has been cut. I think it started to curl around the tracing paper rather. So this is a journal card that was in the Stamperia pack that I used. I'll leave a link in the description of the actual pad that I used because I can't remember at this moment in time what it was called. But I like to cut these out with my little fussy cutting scissors because I don't want the edges to be too perfect. On these journal cards, they have uneven edges, so they're like distressed in the print. Does this make sense? Probably not. But anyway, I like to try and follow it a bit with my scissors, make it a little bit uneven. Sometimes I distress the edges, but in this case, because I wanted it to slip under the pocket, I didn't distress them because I didn't want to create any little nicks that would catch on the edge of the pocket. So I've rounded the corners of the photograph as well. And I think I decided to stick the picture down on the less interesting side and leave the more interesting side for journaling. It was just a really simple journal card. I could have just put the photograph in as it is, but I just wanted something a bit more floral to go with the theme of my journal. So again, I'm just making sure everything's well stuck so that it doesn't lift up when I slip it in the pocket. And then I added this little tab as well and made sure that that was well glued down. In this case, it turned out that the pocket was a little bit larger than the journal card, so the tab doesn't really stick out, but it just adds a bit of something to it. Then I stitched around the inside of the frame to give it a darker border. See, that's where I realised that the tab wasn't going to stick out, but that's fine because when you lift the side of the pocket, it just gives you something to grab onto. Gluing around 3 sides here, top, bottom and left hand side. Now if you want to make it clear that it's a pocket, you could cut a thumb hole out of the side, just using half of a circle punch. You'll have seen that in other tutorials. It just makes it easier to stick your thumb in to grab onto whatever's inside. So I allowed that to dry. I'm just testing it again to make sure it works. And I already like the effect that it's got here, but I did feel like there was something missing. So that's when I decided to bring in the lace. I'm just deciding where to place it now. And I'm going with the bottom edge. And then you'll see shortly that I put some at the top as well. Now this lace was actually double the width, but I cut it down the middle lengthways because it was too big to go in as it was. Just using my fancy paperweight, which is an actual circle punch. Now I was having a bit of trouble getting all of the ruffles to lie the correct way, so that's why it's taken me a bit longer here. But eventually I got them all stuck down, and now this is so this was the top of that piece of lace, if you see what I mean. I should have showed you it before, but never mind. So sticking that down up at the top, and then these ruffles are just going to look fantastic when they are poking out of the edge of the book. It'll show you that there's loads of texture inside. And then I found this little House of Roses chipboard piece. This was in a bag of ephemera that I got from Stamperia. House of Roses might be the collection of paper that I was using for the journal cards. And then the piece that I used for the frame was one of the ones that I've got in my shop, and the name escapes me presently. I think it's something Memories. Again, I'll leave that in the description below because I've still got a few of those available if you want to purchase one. It's a nice paper pad actually, I use it a lot. It's just 8x8 in size for that one. And then those were chipboard pieces as well from that same Stamperia pack. So it's just something to embellish and draw your eye around the frame. Okay, so there you have the completed piece. I'll show you with the photograph in. Oh, I stitched around as well, so I stitched around the outside again just to give a bit more contrast. So let me know what you think. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again next time for another tutorial. See you later, bye!